This is the talk of Music City Real Estate.
Welcome back to another episode of the Talk of Music City Real Estate,
where we educate and motivate all things real estate.
Hi, my name is Monty Moore with Realty One Group Music City.
Hey, and I'm Carey Ann with CMG Financial and my mortgage team.
Every week we'll be posting a new episode full of Nashville real estate value.
Yes, and you can follow along and subscribe at thetalkmusiccity.com.
Got a question for us? Ask away. Questions at talkmusiccity.com. That's questions at talkmusiccity.com.
Yes, and we have a sponsor today. Thank you so much, Music City Removal. Music City Removal is the #1 junk removal service in Nashville. From residential, commercial, and construction, they're experts in ridding you of junk. Their costs include labor and dumping fees without any hidden or added expenses. Whether you need a full clean out or just one item removed, they have you covered.
The Music City Removal team knows the importance of respect and trust while in someone else's home. They understand the inconvenience of junk left behind previous owners and tenants and are determined to provide affordable and customer-focused junk removal service that puts you first. For a free online estimate, just go to musiccityremoval.com. That's musiccityremoval.com.
Music City Removal, because clutter ain't cute. We are back. Because I'm cute. Junk's not cute, but I'm cute. Bring it back.
That's right.
Bring it full circle. I love it.
And we have a special guest here today with us.
We have a couple special guests.
Couple of them, yes. Jason Hoover is in the house.
Welcome, Jason.
Hey, glad to be
here. Where's the applause here? Come in. Can you get the applause going on?
Yay. There we go.
Now I feel better.
Thank you.
Well, since it is being recorded and we've had Jason on the show so many times, he does need to get one of our new shirts.
He does. He's been
qualify.
Nobody else has been, other than Mr. Jim McCarthy himself, has been more consistent of a guest here with us.
Yes, and supporting us. We love that. Thank you so much for being here. You bring so much to the podcast with all of your insight in the local real estate community. I can't wait to talk about about our topic today. Yes,
and our other guest who's on with us right now via Bluetooth.
We've got him dialed in.
Mr. Lars Haugsted.
Yes, Haugsted.
Thank you, Lars, for joining us.
And he's with Ribbon Homes.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, Lars is with Ribbon Homes, which is one of my favorite companies out there in the whole wide world. I'm so grateful for what Lars does with Ribbon Homes, and I'm so grateful for Ribbon Homes for what they do with the homeowners here locally in Middle Tennessee.
Absolutely. They're making a difference each day and allowing us the ability to actually put those transactions together that may not have been without them.
Carey Ann, I know you were the one that brought Ribbon to Realty One Group Music City, and I've always been very grateful for that. You'd heard about them before most other people here in Middle Tennessee. In the meantime, it didn't take long for this company to really embrace the idea of being able to have that rich uncle. So let's talk about what Ribbon really means to the local realtor out there, and about how Ribbon empowers the local real estate professional to be the hero for their clients. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Well, they definitely are. Lars, would you like to share?
Yeah, I mean, I think in such a low inventory market, the biggest challenge is simply like getting under contract. Whether you're in a multiple offer situation or you have a home sale contingency, the agents are the ones who have to magically line up 2 closings or help a first-time home buyer compete against the other 10, 15 offers on a home. So where we really empower the real estate agent, lenders, and their clients is by taking their pre-approval and upgrading that into a non-contingent cash offer.
Non-contingent cash offer. Did you hear that? Making sure everybody heard that.
Jason, when you heard about
it's a big deal.
Jason, when you heard about Ribbon Homes, what did you think?
I thought it was brilliant because, especially in our market, so many times we lose out on multiple offers.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And you try to structure the deal as best you can to make it as sweet as possible, but time and time again, you have investors going out there paying cash money, buying these homes, and these your buyers are missing out. So this is it's a game changer for them. It actually levels the playing field.
Absolutely.
So yeah, when I heard about it, I was blown away. I was like, this is brilliant. We need to jump all over it.
After I vetted it, how many times, Lars?
Enough.
I know. Because initially I thought, because we hear the concept of iBuyer, initially I thought they were here to take money out of my pocket, not actually, they didn't, I've found out that they really like the real estate agent and the lender. They're just it's a trifecta, right? They're just there to help us put those transactions together. And yes, maybe the lending institution is delayed with the closing because we do it in a later part of the process. But again, to know that without them, I wouldn't be able to help this family or that family, made me realize that it's a win-win for everybody.
Well, and like you said, it may be delayed, but at least it's going to happen.
Yeah,
instead
absolutely.
of losing out completely.
Yeah.
Right.
So Lars, go ahead.
I was going to say, Lars, why don't you just, I'd like for us to assume that the listeners aren't familiar with this. We've given obviously some ideas here in a brief discussion, but let's pretend like we're talking to somebody who's never heard of Ribbon Homes before, because I can't tell you how many real estate professionals I still meet that don't know anything at all about Ribbon. And that's, of course, as I've shared with you, one of my missions on the planet is to make sure everybody knows about Ribbon, because it's one of the few outside third parties that are, again, for us and doing some amazing things for the consumer and for the real estate professional. How would you start that conversation from scratch? You're just meeting a real estate professional for the first time. They've never heard of Ribbon Homes before. Where do you go from there?
Yeah, I mean, I really just focus, there's so many different parts of the real estate transaction, so it's easy to get kind of caught up in the different nuances of what happens when. Really, the easiest way to explain it is we upgrade their offer to a cash offer, and then we remove home sale financing and appraisal contingencies. So any of your clients with a pre-approval can essentially write an offer that's non-contingent and backed by cash for their next home. And if for whatever reason they cannot sell their home in time or secure financing by that closing day, the contract would get assigned to Ribbon, and Ribbon will purchase the home on the buyer's behalf. At that point, Ribbon owns the home, and we temporarily rent the home back to the buyer at our break-even carrying cost. And then we give them 6 months to sell their existing home, secure their financing, get their ducks in a row. And once they get the green light from Carey Ann, she then goes and the buyers purchase the home back from us at the same price that we originally bought the home for.
That's amazing. And what is the average delayed time, as in what is your average close time from when you purchase to when we convert to the final sale? What have you seen?
Most people are repurchasing within 3 months.
3 months.
So it really just kind of depends on their scenario. I would say the most common scenarios that we're coming across is people who have a home sale contingency and they need to lock down the new house first before they even think about listing their home. Because a lot of people have a hot property and they know that it'll sell in 2 days, 2 weeks, and they don't want to be homeless is what it comes down to. So we help get them under contract on that new home, and then they can turn around and list it. So it's just a matter of that timing, to where I've had people repurchase within 7 days. Monte, I think one of our deals, they're already lined up to purchase back from us, and we closed last Monday. So they're only renting the house from us for 14 days, and they're just going to then purchase the home back from us.
Right. We sold their home a week after you had purchased it for them. They just started moving some stuff in. I'm going to talk about that couple here in a little bit. I just want to make sure we've laid a really very clear foundation for everybody to understand what Ribbon's all about. One of the best examples I've heard you share is it's like you woke up today with a rich uncle, and the rich uncle isn't just rich. The rich uncle wants to bless you that every client you have that needs some help buying a home, the rich uncle wants to buy it for them, and then sell it back to them at the same price. So let's talk about, there's got to be a catch. What's the cost for this kind of a service? The whatever it is, I'm sure it's worthwhile, but let's talk about what does it cost and who pays it.
Yeah. So the cost to use Ribbon, or the catch, is our fee, which is 2% of the purchase price. So that transaction fee is 2% of the purchase price, and we collect that by closing day when Ribbon purchases the home. The way that we typically present this is essentially a closing cost. So 70% of the time, sellers will pay this fee, and it's simply negotiated as a seller paid closing cost. Because you're coming in with a cash offer, we remove the risk by making it non-contingent. The only contingency we don't cover is inspection. So the seller is getting a guaranteed close once they pass inspection. And if they just provide 2% in closing costs, it's providing a ton of value to that seller, knowing that, hey, this house will close and close on time.
I'm willing to bet that most sellers that have had their home on the market any length of time at all would be glad to pay 2% to get a guaranteed cash offer at fair market price. That's the other part of this. I want to make sure everybody understands that this is not like that company, I forget their name, is called, I think, Close Window, something like that comes in and lowballs people. You guys actually pay fair market price. Is that correct?
Yeah. So, I mean, we just don't want to overpay for the home.
Sure.
And I'm going to say, I would say 9.9 times out of 10, your clients don't want to overpay for the home either. So we have an in-house team of local market experts that take a look at the home, and we just determine the max that we'll purchase the home for. So this is what we feel the home is likely to appraise at. It's not an official appraisal, but it's just saying, hey, this is the max we'll purchase the home for. From there, the buyer still works with the agent to negotiate what they actually want to offer. So if they want to try to use cash as negotiation tactics to come in at a lower price, they still have that flexibility. If they want to come in at our full-blown max, they can do that as well. So we still give that power to the buyer and the real estate agent.
Wow.
That's impressive.
Take that, red pen. Take that, open door. I'm sorry, I didn't say that, did I?
You did. You totally did. So kind of go, Lars, into, which I love that you still hold the inspection contingency, because we want to make sure everybody knows that you guys are looking out for the buyer, right? They want to make sure that they're comfortable with the inspection, because they don't want anybody to purchase a home on their behalf and then they're not comfortable with something there. So that's a huge win. When you speak about deciding how much the house is worth in the eyes of Ribbon with your experts on staff, what is the time frame of reviewing that?
Yeah, most cases we get back to you within 24 hours.
Amazing.
So it's a pretty quick turnaround time. And then the next question I typically get following that is, well, what about a multiple offer situation and we need highest and best by 6 o'clock today? We can still act quickly in those scenarios. The only thing that we need is the property address and the buyer's pre-approval, and we can flag things as urgent and have a turnaround time of an hour or so.
Okay.
So I've had people reach out to me at noon on a Saturday wanting to make an offer immediately, and by 3:30 that afternoon, we had the offer signed and sent back within 3.5 hours over the weekend. So we understand that real estate is a 24/7 job, and most of it happens over the weekend. So we're here to be accessible and available to agents or buyers, lenders throughout this process and act quickly.
And I think a big part of what you're talking about is being prepared in the upfront. For you to be able to give that approval so quickly is you do need the lender approval.
Right.
So making sure that all the agents out there still solidify and work with their clients to get that pre-approval done as soon as possible, because they're going to be looking for that true pre-approval, not pre-qualification, pre-approval letter.
And I just want to make this clear is, and Lars, if you would chime in. So if scenario that we do have a multiple offer, so I'm working with a client that, am I supposed to already pre-submit them for any qualifications before they actually talk to you, before we find a property? Or could it be like they just found a house on Saturday and I mentioned Ribbon Homes to them, we're able to still submit an offer? It's that quick?
That's a great question.
Yeah, I would say most cases the agent has already kind of done their kind of qualification on their clients before showing them the home. So they want to make sure that they're not driving them around if they're not even ready or pre-approved.
Sure.
So all we need is to look at their pre-approval letter and confirm that credit, income, and assets have been verified by the lender, and then we will back them up to their pre-approval amount.
Okay. So, to your point, I completely agree. I'm just thinking of a scenario, if they did find a property and they're like, well, I really want this. Well, we got to go in with the cash offer. And so it literally could be that quick if needed.
Yes.
Yeah. I've had plenty of people who kind of just like wanted to explore the idea, and they're like, all right, this is one of the options. And then they're not even pre-approved. And then 2 months later, they come back and they're like, hey, here's my pre-approval. Looks like we're going to head in the direction of Ribbon. So we can run numbers on a property without a pre-approval letter. But if it's something where they want to submit an offer, we're going to have to check off that pre-approval letter. Or if it's something where it's like, hey, I need the numbers pronto, we just want to make sure that the buyer's qualified and serious.
So that's a great reminder for everybody listening. One of the tendencies I think sometimes in our industry is to wait till something is relevant to our particular immediate need,
right,
and then expect others to jump through hoops. Let's be professionals and analyze the situation and mention it on the front end. And go ahead and register, because it doesn't cost anything. It doesn't cost anything as you as the real estate professional. It doesn't cost anything for your client to go. Let's go ahead and register just in case. Mm-hmm. That's of course dependent. You've analyzed the situation. You have an idea what it takes, and you have an idea what their strengths and weaknesses are as a client, and what they might be willing and might not be willing, and what kind of property they're looking for. Is it likely to find one that's going to fit the parameters and so forth? And I think that's really important, because what I've learned here in the last month is that it is helpful for everybody involved if they're, first of all, familiar with it, second of all, have gone ahead and registered, and thirdly, that they've got that approval letter in their hot little hand. And on that topic, Lars, do you look at, I know you guys can't play favorites, I'm sure, but I'm sure that there's also some lenders out there that will carry more weight with an approval letter than maybe some others. Maybe, for instance, maybe CMG does.
Someone sitting here, yeah.
But we talked about it last night that you have found that not all lenders out there are doing a good job when it comes to qualifying somebody.
Yeah, and that's where really our team focuses on reaching out to the lender and confirming credit, income, and assets have been verified. So that's really building strong relationships on that front. But we also have our internal team doing that, because we have the sales, we have operations, transaction coordinators, but we have a buyer underwriting team who is really dedicated on focus, to get that buying power set and do those communications with the lenders to make sure that they're qualified. Just like we have a valuations team who's responsible for focusing on getting those valuations done in a timely manner. And that's where we really focus on having good internal structure as an organization. We're using local market experts, people who previously had appraisal experience or underwriting experience, and then having a good schedule, because things can definitely get hectic, especially in the spring, summer, when, business is popping. We take turns, especially over the weekend, to make sure we have a designated person looking over those things. That way nothing falls through the cracks, especially when some of these situations are multiple offers and can happen in the blink of an eye. Yeah,
and I think if people approach Ribbon Homes as an added tool in our toolbox, right? It's an added tool. Do I need it every time? No, but there's going to be an opportunity that maybe I need to use that tool to help me get to the finish line, right? And so when I'm talking to people, some people say, well, I have 2 closings, I have at this added fee, I have more closing costs, et cetera, et cetera. In the big picture, if you and I are looking for hard money, the cost of hard money to be able to do something is going to be a lot more than the cost associated with doing this. Yep. When it comes to the question about the 2 closings, they really do an amazing job where they cover their own closing cost within that fee. If you think about it, closing costs are a lot more than what that is. So they actually absorb that. And if the seller is willing to pay any closing cost on that transaction, they first take out the 1.95 and they move the rest of the closing costs that the seller agreed to pay towards the next transaction. So that buyer still has a win with money coming in their favor. And then what I've done is thought 2 steps ahead, and the people that we work with, we work out options where we discount our closing costs to help cut that total amount needed for closing down to a reasonable amount and a comfort for them as well. So maybe they're only having their down payment at that point or minimal closing costs. So thinking about some of the concerns that I hear, those are just two things right there that overcome those. And then just noting that some properties they will take, and some properties that they won't. Right? We always want to sprinkle common sense over everything.
Absolutely.
They're taking the risk by being able to purchase this and holding that for the long term. So we want to make sure that they are going to truly be able to see them selling that property.
Right?
Is there an acreage? I think, Lars.
Yeah. So our buy box, we're typically between 150 and 800K at or below 4 acres. Have we stepped outside of this buy box? Yeah, it's just a case by case basis.
Yep.
Some scenarios, my team is like, this is a hot property, we can do it. And then other cases, they say, this is a little bit risky, we can do it at an additional fee. Or some, they may just say no. Like if somebody comes and they've got a property that's on 10 acres and it's way out in the boonies, we likely won't be able to back it. But as far as anybody else in this space that are buying properties, they have a general buy box that is kind of like that sweet spot under 400K or under 500K, where I think here in Nashville, our average purchase price is right around $375. So I see plenty that are 500 plus that people are using because they can't get 2 mortgages. They have all of this equity in their whatever second or third home, and they want to upgrade from a home that's at 450 and maybe go into something that's 650.
Sure.
So we do have a very generous buy box, and it just comes down to risk because worst case scenario is they're unable to sell their home or buy the new house back from us, and then Ribbon has a property that we need to sell.
That's great information. I was this buyer that just randomly on a Sunday at noon thought I was going to search online just to see what was out there. And all of a sudden I look at this house and I'm like, hey, we should go see it. Never thought about selling or buying new, right? That was the least of my thought process. Get out there going, oh my gosh, we have to buy this house now. Like this was a random 360 thought, right? But I think this happens to some buyers out there,
it sure
right?
does.
And so now I'm in the situation where I want this house, but I haven't even done the laundry from last week at my current house. Like how am I supposed to even prep or the thought of selling that, right? So, and then I know for a fact, if you were to come into my current house, you'd probably like, this is not ready to sell. We've got a lot of declutter and things that we need to do. So I would be that perfect person who would work with you and you would say to me, I know you're stressed, but I've got this great, tool that would allow us to still offer something grand to the seller, and then we can talk about listing your house later, right? And getting that for max price. I think that's a huge win. So we see that a lot, and maybe even with new construction, where new construction, the builders may say, "Hey, we're not doing contingencies," and you go, "But I want this house. I want this house." So having that as a tool is a big win, even for those new construction houses or those people that get up on a Sunday and just get on searching online.
Well, too, and it helps with the negotiating. Just in your scenario, is it's perfect because you're not having to negotiate down price or anything else for the fact that it's dependent upon you finding and purchasing a property. You can go ahead and do that and then sell your house and not have that as part of the negotiation. Right. Yeah. I mean, I just think it's a win. And it was a win. How many families have you been able to help recently, Monte, with utilizing the tool of Ribbon Homes?
I'm working on the 5th one today.
5th one. Wow.
But I got to give Lars a shout out real quickly because he has made comment in various meetings that we've been at, guys, that his team works similar hours to real estate and mortgage professionals,
Right.
Yeah. So last night I got in showing property about 7:00. And I called my buddy Lars, and what's he doing? He's out walking his dog. The dog appreciated that. I appreciated that. He answered the call, at after hours like that. And to your question, Jason, as far as the turnaround, I sent him the address last night of the property that they love. And by, 10 or 11 o'clock this morning, I had the valuation back, and so I knew that we could blaze forward. So they're pretty quick, considering I was given to them last night. And that's so important, so very important. Well, it is. It doesn't matter if we know some other programs that sound great, but if nobody's responding and helping it all come together, especially in a hot market, it is frustrating. So one thing I wanted to do with Lars on the call is I wanted to go through some of these experiences that I've had recently, Lars, and say, again, personally, I want to say thank you for being a trailblazer here in Middle Tennessee, because
Thank you.
in the last 30 days, I've got 5 transactions here that I can credit Ribbon Homes to helping bring together, and if it wasn't for Ribbon Homes, we would still be, I'm not sure where, with each one of them.
Wow, impressive.
I mean 5 in 1 month. So, for instance, Will and Rachel from East Tennessee, moving here with job relocation. She knew when they called that it's going to take 2 or 3 months to sell their home where they're at, but here they know that the price point that they're looking at is going to sell quickly. And I said, the routine, and she said, well, we can't afford to. And I said, well, here's a program that just recently began here in Middle Tennessee I think you're going to love. It's called Ribbon Homes, and we're going to be able to put an offer on a home first. She said, is that possible? I would love that idea. And right now they're under contract at 308 Bountiful Drive in Smyrna. That would not have happened had it not been for Ribbon Homes, because they have not sold their home yet. They're just putting it on the market. This has happened last weekend, and they would not be buying a brand new home right now if it wasn't for Ribbon Homes. Another couple, this couple I was working with last night, and we're actually writing the offer today. It's with Mr. and Mrs. Brown. They have a home in Mount Juliet. I reached out to Carey Ann's office, got an approval letter, and I gave them right off the bat. We want to get an approval letter, of course, and I asked them, so here's our situation. Do you have the money to put down on another one? We don't. We want to own a brand new home. We want to get rid of our current home. I said, well, there is a program called Ribbon Homes, and you're in luck. And so again, same situation. We're in the process now. In this case, they're buying again a brand new home, and the builder has agreed to pay 2% because it's a completed product. Mm-hmm. Now, you're not going to probably go up to a builder with a piece of dirt and say, will you build this and pay a 2% fee? They're probably not going to do that. But on a home that's been sitting there for a little while, especially with new construction, because those things start costing them some money at that point, this builder didn't have a problem with it at all. And now what we're doing now, this is a little bit different. This will, feel free to explain further on this one, this part of it, Lars. But in this case, we're pushing out the closing date for 60 days. Okay, that's not what the builder wants, but that's what we're doing, is pushing it out for 60 days with the intention that we're going to be able to sell their home prior to the end of that 60 days. Okay? And if we can do that, can you talk to us about what will happen to that with that 2%, Lars, if we can do that?
Yeah. So the best case scenario is the buyer can sell their home in time and close on the home without using Uncle Ribbon's cash. And so in that event, we never purchase the home. So the way that the contract is written is essentially, if John and Jane Doe can't close on the home, Ribbon will then step in and purchase. So in that case, the buyer still secures their financing like they typically would and moves forward with the purchase. So we never rent the home back because we never owned it. So the only cost to use the program is at 2%, but then after closing, we'll turn around and give a 1% rebate to the buyer as incentive for securing their financing and not using our cash.
So they used the muscle of Uncle Ribbon to get the deal. So the 2% was due, and then it's paid by the seller who had agreed to pay those costs. But then if Uncle Ribbon doesn't have to buy the property, then Uncle Ribbon gives the buyer that 1%. That's pretty cool, I think. My clients are excited.
So in that case, that would go towards closing costs, or that because the seller was paying the fee?
Yeah. So on closing day, we will actually collect the full 2%. And then once it's recorded outside of the transaction, we'll turn around and provide that rebate to the buyer.
Okay.
So it goes to the buyer, even though
in a separate transaction.
But even if the seller pays for it.
Correct. So it's kind of like it's going towards your closing costs, but you bring the cost, and then they're crediting it to you after closing. Okay. Yep. So that's good.
I think another important thing too is this is a very buyer focused program, but if you think about it from the other side, and Monte, we can talk about this because you've accepted some Ribbon offers, and I actually saw another deal come in internally where somebody on your team accepted a Ribbon offer. We're providing tremendous value to the seller as well, because we guarantee the closing once we pass the inspection period. So once you pass inspections, either John and Jane Doe are going to be able to sell their home or secure their financing and close on the home, or worst case scenario, they can't. And then Ribbon is there to step in and purchase the home. So that gives the seller security and peace of mind, knowing that their house will close and close on time. I think a lot of the fear is people don't want to be end up homeless. And then if things fall through at the last minute, it causes a serious domino effect where this family can't buy their next home, and then the next family can't buy their next, and then on and on and on. So
people can sleep at night when they know that's behind them, right? I mean, there's no stress at that point. There's a true guarantee. That is worth something. So I'm a big supporter of that for sure.
Related to what you just... Go ahead, Lars.
I was going to say, and same for the real estate agents, because I feel like a lot of people don't realize the work that a lot of real estate agents are doing, going out, showing these properties, and doing all of this behind the scenes work. There's 2 real estate agents on every transaction, and if something falls through, they're not getting paid either, and they're putting a lot of their time and effort to do this. So this is where we found our program to be so successful, is we're providing a great solution that wholeheartedly is trying to take every single person in the real estate transaction in mind. So the agents are still getting paid their full commission. Buyers and sellers are getting security and peace of mind, knowing that they can get the home that they want. Things won't fall apart at the last minute. And then lenders are still going to be able to convert that into a fully processed loan.
Time is money. For you to be able to get something closed in the next 2 weeks, and we do closings ourselves so quickly. That's probably why, because I know, if you allow something to take longer, rates could change or things can be different, et cetera, et cetera. So being able to know that they can get into that house, under a 3-week period, that's a huge win with a guarantee. That's a big win. For sure.
Again, to our real estate professionals out there that have a listing like I did last week that had been sitting for a few months, and I keep getting contingent upon sale offers.
Oh, yeah.
And my clients, I don't recommend that. And so this last time it happened, last week, the home had been on the market a few months here in Franklin. And I asked the agent, "Have you heard about Ribbon Homes yet?" And he said, "Well, I think I've heard of it, but I didn't know don't know what it is." And so I explained to him what it was about. He went back to his clients in California. They were willing to pay the asking price on the home, but we weren't willing to put our eggs in that basket. They came back with a full-priced offer asking my client to pay the 2%. She said, "I'm glad to pay that 2% on a $549,000 home because I know I got a cash deal." And of course, she bought part of that. What she bought, it was me and my conviction that if I see a Ribbon deal come across my desk, I know it's going to be a solid deal that I'm excited to encourage my seller to accept.
I mean, and you and I both know, because I had a cash deal on another transaction, that sometimes there's not always a guarantee, right, with a cash deal. And with Ribbon Homes, they provide that, which is another layer of comfort when it comes to, these transactions. So we've learned a lot today. It's always a pleasure having Lars with us, talking about Ribbon Homes and what he and his company can do to help
Lars,
assist us.
how do our clients, or how do our listeners rather, get a hold of you? Can you share that?
Yeah. So we do have a full website that's available for agents, buyers, lenders to create a free account. That's www.ribbonhome.com. And if you go on there, you automatically get assigned an account manager that's going to be designated for each team. So here in Middle Tennessee, there's myself, Alex, and Tyler, who are specifically designated to help those in the Tennessee market. So signing up there automatically gets your designated point of contact. From there, you have their cell phone, email, however you want to reach them. We're here to help you and your clients get to the finish line.
Awesome.
Always great to have you, Jason, as well with us and giving
It's great to be here.
Your thoughts in the local real estate community. We enjoy having all of our listeners again this week. Monte, you want to sign off?
Not really. Go ahead. I hate to say goodbye.
I know
this is
we're having so much fun, but they probably don't want to hear us longer than what we've been talking. 30 minutes max.
I'm sitting on the edge of my seat.
I love it. I know. I get excited about Ribbon Homes all the time. But to learn and to listen to more of our podcast, always visit us at talkmusiccity.com. That's talkmusiccity.com. We will see you back next week.